they're both under the flattening eye of the internet. They're both content, at least. So,
which I mean, I'd love to just pick your brains on that. Like, how do you feel about the word content?
Well, so this is something I haven't actually talked about on this pod for a while, but it's something I've brought up a lot. I mean, the word content doesn't really mean anything because there's no such thing as content. There's writing, there's audio, there's podcasting, there's music, there's video, there's film, there's short form reels, TikToks, etc.
Skits.
Yeah. So
dance.
content doesn't really mean anything. It's like it collects all of those things, but it lacks any nuance. Sometimes people will sign up for Creator Spotlight and reply to the welcome email that we send out, where I ask them like, oh, what do you do? Like, what kind of content do you produce? And I use that vague word there. But sometimes people are like, oh, like, well, I'm just beginning. I don't really produce anything, but I really want to learn how to produce content. And I always just reply back to that something like, well, like, you don't think about like, do you like writing? Do you like, making videos? Do you like making long form videos? Do you like making short form videos? Like, so I think content is like a useful word to package up like everything we look at on our phones, right? But nuance is crucial there.
Yeah, I think there's something very reductive about the word, although the way you just described it, I am realizing that it is incredibly efficient.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And part of me sometimes feels like efficiency is the death of nuance, the death of sort of really telling the right story, but it's also, there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
I hate wasting people's time. And so maybe content is a useful word.
So wait, something. Sorry, I want to interrupt you. So as long as I've known you, in the brief time I knew you in New Orleans, and even now, something that always struck me about you is you're a very consciously values-driven person. I think in a way that most people I know, probably even myself, are not. You always struck me as like being very conscious in your values and the way you like move through life, and it's in what you're talking about now, and like how efficiency is like is not necessarily your value is quality, not efficiency. So I don't know. I'd love to hear you speak about like kind of your values as a journalist, as we could say, as a content creator.
Well, I mean, it goes back to thank you, and I think it goes back to trying to just worry about the type of story you're telling rather than necessarily like what you think a soccer story should look like, or repeating the soccer stories that you grew up reading, or like just I'm not necessarily saying you need to like totally rethink the industry. I'm not necessarily
not every time you put pen to page.
No, I'm not thinking be that radical. I'm just saying just be real. Like just be you. Don't. I think like that's why the word content can be quite intense sometimes, because I think it creates this idea that we're all just like producing the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm just trying to like empower people to be who they are and be individualistic. And like when it goes back to my journalistic values, I'm really just trying to be me.
Yeah.
And like the upside of being a freelancer is you can pretty much write about whatever you want and you get to be yourself. The downside is like earning significant income and having safety nets. But I do, like you said, I do really value that first one. And taking it back to the Striker, like because I wasn't being paid so much and they were a brand new company, I had a lot of editorial oversight.
Yeah.
And I could make and tell the stories I wanted to tell. And it didn't have to look like other stuff. And that I think is really cool. And I think my consistency for journalism is that I want to be a storyteller. I want to be a voice that helps people. And then maybe this is the hard part, helps people who are already in the game and people who aren't in the game understand the game or understand people more. That's kind of like
people.
It's all about people. Exactly. At the end of the day, it's all about people. It's all about culture. It's all about moments, which is a very like football manager-y thing to say. Like, it's all about the game's about moments, but it really is.